I was a school teacher before I retired. My health gave out toward the end of my time, and the good doctor said, you've got to back off, because I only had one speed. And the doctor, smart advice, said, I want you well to retire, not retire and then try and get well. Oh, now my interest in trains, the story goes that on the morning of my 5th birthday, Grandma came in and said, happy birthday, dear. Guess what? You've got a baby brother for your birthday. And I said, I don't want a baby brother, I want a train. So certainly that's the family story, and I've been interested in trains all my life. And joining Puffing Billy is an opportunity to be again involved in a practical way in trains, and we just love being here. I joined up and I started as a trainee conductor, and then became qualified as a conductor, and then after a period of time I was asked to train as a head conductor, and I'm now looking after the training program for our conductors as well. So in a way, my teaching career has not finished. I'm still using it. I'm also the education officer here for the railway, so I visit in the schools, I meet the school groups when they come. I've trained some of our conductors to also work with the school groups. So those skills that I used in my teaching are still being used today. It's been a family thing. My wife, Marilyn, has been involved. My son is also now a guard and a signalman. My grandson is a junior member, so it's a 3-generational thing now. I can spend 3 or 4 days a week here. I'm rostered on 1 day a week, but I love it so much that we spend more time here because we enjoy it. We love meeting people. I love the fact that our heritage can be preserved. I love the history that's associated with this railway. It's been going for over 100 years. Through the week, most of the volunteers that you'll see on the railway are retirees. We've got some volunteers here that are well into their 80s, still involved, as I say, with volunteering at Puffing Billy. I hope I'm able to do that for at least another 10 years. It's great, we just love it. When we were building our house, we had a very accommodating builder, and he knew that I wanted to build a model railway room. So we're on the slope, we dug it right back, and there's a model railway room there which has a huge layout in it. It's probably about a 2-car garage size. I wouldn't say it's an obsession, much. 40, 45 years or more I've been involved with model railways. Now I'm on the full-size ones, thoroughly enjoying it.
Now there's someone who has taken his passion into retirement. You can tell he's loving what he's doing.
The latest news is that Paul is now a station master at Puffing Billy, which is something he was working toward when we interviewed him.
He's also a good illustration that volunteering comes in a variety of shapes and forms. It'll be something quite different, something that fits you, your interests, your passions.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about keeping your brain healthy as you prepare for retirement.
Although I prefer the alternative title, Keeping Your Marbles.
There's good news about ageing generally. The first thing that comes to mind is the fact that many people are denied that privilege. So getting older is in fact a gift of time. And having a gift of time means that there is a lot that you can do with that.
Definitely there is good news for the aging person. Healthier people tend to live longer. And I actually believe that if you are healthy, you will have less diseases as well. So of course you will enjoy your retirement a lot more. Health is about physical, psychological, spiritual, and mental health. We need to be looking at positive things instead of negative.
The aging brain itself is, we used to think that it was bad news getting an older brain. But as we learn about neuroplasticity and the ability of the brain to adapt, we realise that there is as much chance of being able to adjust to new things and learn new things as we get older as there was when we were younger. So it's not all bad news.
Jeremy Hughes, the CEO of Alzheimer's UK, he said that dementia is the most feared health condition of our times. That fear is shown in some research from the United Kingdom, where they discovered that 60% of people will visit the doctor if they have a physical symptom, but only 2% if they feel they have memory loss or confusion. The other statistics are that 56% put off diagnosis for a year or more if they have memory loss, and 63% think life is over if they're diagnosed with memory loss or Alzheimer's. Now, it is a scary thing. I like the story of Ron Robert from Canada. He's 81 years of age, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he decided that he was not going to just let that go. And his story is quite inspirational because he decided to sign up for a course of political science at the local university. And here he is among all these younger students, and they've kind of adopted him as their own. Now, his memory loss, certainly short-term memory loss, is quite significant. His long-term memory loss was, but it seems as he's worked, as he's studied, this has come back somewhat, and he's quite pleased with that. He's enjoying what he does, but that was his way of handling it. I think the big message here is, if we get diagnosed with something like that, let's try to attack it, not just let it happen. Let's try to work on it where we can.
It's important to realise that Alzheimer's is a kind of dementia. There are many other kinds of dementia, but Alzheimer's is the biggest group of dementias.
And not everyone that is old gets dementia. Old age actually doesn't actually cause dementia. What we are now seeing is that people in their 20s, 30s, and 50s are now getting dementia because of their lifestyle.
Dementia and Alzheimer's they're not inevitable. And there is a lot that we can do to reduce the risk of getting a form of dementia. There are some very basic things that we can do, and they have to do with healthy living and a healthy lifestyle. And in the same way that we would look after our own bodies, we look after our brain. So exercise is important, sleep is important, having a healthy diet is important, having a good body mass index is important. To keep learning, to be socially engaged, all these things help us so that we can reduce the risk of dementia. Dementia is not inevitable.
But what everybody thinks is that you have to do something specifically for the brain. That we aren't brains, we're human beings. So to keep your brain healthy, you have to keep your body healthy, your brain healthy, your relationships healthy, and your spiritual aspect healthy too. All of those things are important. So get moving, get walking, whatever you need to get physical exercise. This will keep your brain healthy. Have a healthy diet. There's absolutely no doubt of the evidence of the advantage of a plant-based diet. The more plant-based food, more fruit, more veggies, more nuts that you use, the better for your brain.
My advice to older people is, if you can help it, I would stop drinking, because as one gets older, there is a slight decline on memory, slight decline on problem solving. We don't need anything, any drugs in a way, or alcohol, I see it as a form of drug as well, to actually have an impact on the cognitive part of your brain.
There's a continuing emphasis on healthy living, or taking a whole-of-life approach to life and retirement. Living a healthy life is also good for brain health.
And that's to be expected because everything is interconnected. It stands to reason that how I treat my body will have an impact on my mind. A recent discovery has found that alcohol abuse, particularly binge drinking, is linked to dementia.
That's the warning. But while giving the warning, we should also say that memory loss is not necessarily a sign of dementia.
Forgetting is a normal part of getting older. In fact, even young people forget things.
We all forget, you know, and so that is actually often not a good sign to pick to say someone's got dementia.
Forgetting as a sign of dementia, though, is a particular kind of forgetting. It's when you might forget how to do activities that you always knew how to do. So you forget how to make a cup of tea, for example, or you get lost in a familiar environment. You may even find people with dementia often may find it difficult to find their way even around their own home. So it's that kind of forgetting, and there's a different feel to that kind of forgetting. It's not the normal forgetting.
If you see these things happening to you, it's a good idea to actually seek professional help in this area, but just forgetting is definitely not dementia.
We all forget, and as we get older, we forget more. Forgetting where we put the keys is a common one. If you happen to find your keys in the fridge, be surprised, yes, but that's not a problem, really. The problem's there if you find your keys in the fridge and don't know what they're for. So forgetting is not a sign of dementia.
We should not get concerned when we start forgetting things. We may just need to pay more attention and do things that help us to remember better. When you start forgetting something, it may be a good idea to look at your general level of organisation. Some of us, and most of us, can improve that. To have a place where things go, put your keys back in the same place every time, have a certain system for filing things away. If that doesn't work, then the thing we need to do is really pay attention. If you find that every time you come home you're putting your keys in a different place, well, maybe that's just a habit you've formed, but if you pay attention to where you've put them, you're more likely to find them when you're looking for them later. So paying attention to life, paying attention to people you meet, paying attention to their names, what they do, that helps to improve the memory. One of the tricks, I think, of remembering people's names is when you're introduced to somebody new is to say their name in the next sentence, maybe once or twice, as often as is natural, really.
What we really, really need is to build up our capacity to have reserve there for our brain so that we will be able to use it as we get older. So that is extremely crucial. It is actually active thinking and active learning. And we need to continue to do that. Just going along and just watching television is really not good for the brain. There are lots of research that's been done that shows very clearly that actually puts the brain in a road just with no activity whatsoever in the brain when you watch television for too long. So what we now note that active thinking and learning is crucial for the brain, and it also acts as a reserve for you when you need it.
When you say exercising the brain, obviously it's not like a muscle that you can exercise when you go out walking or running or doing aerobic exercise. But there are certain things that you can do to keep the brain active and functioning well. There is a study that has recently been done about a particular kind of brain exercise that is really useful, and that would be, it's called a double decision exercise or mind-brain exercise. And that one has been studied and has been shown to be particularly useful in improving brain health. The double decision exercise for the brain helps to improve your rate of responsiveness. So it would be exercise that would also almost be like a game that you play on your phone or on a computer, which helps you to respond more quickly and expands your visual field of taking note of things that happen. And that exercise in particular has been studied and has been shown to be very valuable in exercising the brain.
Double decision exercises are designed to challenge your brain by forcing you to make more than one decision at a time. That's why they're called double decision exercises. They're about dividing your attention, which helps to keep your brain alert and flexible.
To try it for yourself, go online and key in double decision exercises. You'll quickly find exercises you can try. It's a bit like playing a computer game, but it's a game that helps your brain.
And it's a simple way of gaining greater brain flexibility, once I learn how to do it.
My own opinion is that whenever we stay engaged with life, whenever we stay interested in life, we are doing things that actually improve the health of the brain and exercise the brain. Social interaction is part of exercising the brain and is incredibly important in just maintaining brain health and our general level of well-being and happiness.
To get your brain functioning well, look for new opportunities, look for new learning, interactions with people. Don't stay at home and isolate yourself. Communicate with people, and if you like music, it's not too late to learn. I've had people who will say to me, I'm too old to learn anything new. That's really a mistake here, because no one is too old to learn. Everyone could continue to learn and to make sure your mind is active. And that's why in Alzheimer's, often people tend to the connections within the brain has been destroyed because of the amyloid proteins. And so the connections are not there. So that's the reason why towards the end, they don't remember you at all. And it's not because they don't want to, but because the connections have been destroyed.
There is a sense of use it or lose it with the brain. All through life, the brain is busy trimming and cutting away and reducing neural pathways that are not used. So that's part of the efficiency of the brain, and also its plasticity. So if there are areas of the brain that you do not use, it's like a little pathway that you're walking on. That pathway will not be used anymore and won't be there for your use later. So whatever we use, that gets strengthened, and it has implications for all kinds of things, really.
The concept of use it or lose it is important when we think of brain health.
And we should also exercise our brain with new things. Learning a new language is a good exercise because your brain has to learn new rules and new words for communicating.
And then there's puzzles, things like Sudoku or crossword puzzles. And what about study or learning a new instrument?
It seems that anything that exercises the brain will help.
We know that mentally people are more healthy the more social groups they belong to. You can overdo it, of course, but social groups could be family, initially a workplace. So what are you going to replace the workplace social connection with? This is huge. A lot of people don't realise how much they are relying on their workplace for friendship. Hobby groups can be very important. Offering your help to the community in various different ways. Roland belongs to Lions and he gets out there doing bits and pieces for them, all sorts of stuff. Church groups are extremely important because they usually offer not just the spiritual dynamic, but a whole lot of other social dynamics. And this is very important for health. So again, it's using your whole self.
The concept of socialisation is an important factor that comes up often in discussions about healthy living, and it also does with brain health.
There have been a number of studies about memory with fascinating results, which are definitely worth having a look at.
We did an experiment at Griffith University with Dr. Lydia Hohouse, and we had various groups of elderly participants who took part in these experiments. We tested their cognitive abilities. We then ran them through a 8 to 10 week course of memory exercises, ways to enhance their memories, and then we tested them again. So that was our basic experiment. Then we decided to change that experiment a little, and we ran 2 groups. So we had the group, we gave them the memory enhancement techniques and the tips and the strategies, and then we had another group, and all we did with them was we facilitated a social interaction. So we showed them interesting videos, we let them talk to one another, we let them have an opportunity to get to know one another. And then we tested both groups before and after this experiment. And we found, to our great surprise, that the people in the social group who just had the social interaction, no memory strategies or tips at all, they improved just as much on the same level as our group that we had purposely taught these memory strategies. That certainly was an intriguing finding. What we tentatively came up with there, we know that to sustain good memory, we need to exercise the mind. It gives the memory some exercise in a sense, but you're meeting new people, you're remembering their names, you're learning new facts, and that stimulation is probably the thing that does the trick in actually improving memory generally.
Social connections are important for a satisfying life. People need people. And these social connections come in three forms. There's intimate connectedness. This is with people that you are close to. They're family, best mates, those kind of people. The second one is relational connectedness. This is with people you like to hang out with, people that you feel close to. Not as close as the ones that you are intimately connected with, but people that you feel close to. And then there's what's called collective connectedness. These are people you maybe meet at a club, maybe meet at church, maybe part of an organisation where you are doing something together. One of the tragedies in today's society is loneliness. People need people, and some of us may need to get out of our shell, in a sense, to actually make connections.
A health insurer called Cigna looked at 20,000 participants. They looked at the effects of different lifestyle variables on mortality. They found that the effect of loneliness on mortality was equal to the smoking of 15 cigarettes a day, which is quite an astounding discovery. Loneliness is particularly bad for us. It raises our blood pressure, it decreases our immune function. Loneliness is bad for us on a cellular level. So when we're thinking about successful aging, that social connection is very important. It's good then to remember that we need to build up those friendship networks, those support networks that we have before we retire. They don't suddenly magically appear when we retire. It has to be something that we've already cultivated throughout our lives.
I think to be socially included is really important. I know of one man, for example, in his retirement, he was quite isolated and he'd lost his wife, and his doctor said, make up a notice, put it above the telephone, just say yes. So when people rang him up to say, come along to something, he'd say yes, rather than, oh, I don't think so, I can't do it. And he said it really took a long time, but he got going there. So I think saying yes and involving yourself is vital.
Although there is at the moment no cure to dementia at this point, your lifestyle can either delay the onset of dementia or slow down the process of dementia. Our lifestyle that would actually improve our mental capacity is to make sure that we continue to exercise, getting more blood flow to the brain. At the same time, trying to get involved with things that would actually develop the brain in the sense of our brain connections, for example, learning new material, taking on a language, music, all these different things would improve.
Start reading, start learning something, take up a new hobby. Learn to knit for the first time. Knitting is actually very good for the brain and the fingers. These sorts of things are very important for brain health.
Yeah, take up crossword puzzles, or learn to start playing the piano, even if you've never done it before.
Back in 2005, a study was made of one man, an elderly chess player. He had slight memory loss. A little while later, he died, and it wasn't related to this. But when they did an autopsy and looked at his brain, it had all the signs of advanced Alzheimer's. But his life didn't show that. And so what the researchers are suggesting is that the activity of his brain compensated for the reality of his brain. Now, that's the good news of this story. It seems like that we may be able to compensate for the deterioration that may be in our brain.
And our diet is very important. Having a healthy diet Making sure that when we eat vegetables and fruits that we take all different colors, because all these vitamins can only help you.
The general consensus about brain foods is that we need to eat a balanced and good diet, and that it should include things like fruits and vegetables. It's just interesting that that is becoming so prominent in people's thinking. Things that have that dark purpley blue colour, like blueberries, those are very important for brain health. But generally, eating food that is what we would regard as a balanced diet is the way to go. So the way we look after our bodies is in essence the way we look after our brains too.
Look, some of the most exciting studies that are coming through is just showing the role that physical activity has on, even what we call neurogenesis. So we actually know that it promotes the development, the connection of pathways in our brain. So physical activity is very protective against things like, dementias and Alzheimer's. The science is just overwhelming that one of the best things that you can do for your brain is to move your body.
There are many things you can do to reduce the risk of dementias and Alzheimer's. My best advice would be to focus on two things. The one is exercise. I was going to say it's a no-brainer, but when you exercise, you are pumping more blood into the brain. You are helping and facilitating the working of the brain. So exercise is very, very important. But so is sleep, and so is rest. We very often emphasize good diet, exercise, but we do not often emphasize the importance of good sleep. We know that the risk for dementia goes up when you don't sleep well. So if there are things that are troubling you, or if there are physical problems that you have that prevent you from sleeping solidly and soundly, it's a good idea to get those sorted out. It has been found that during sleep, the brain gets rid of some of its waste products. We didn't know this before. This is new information that came in relatively recently, that the brain also has a kind of a lymphatic system that helps the waste products that are produced in the brain to drain away. And a lot of that happens during sleep. So sleep is really, really important. I think of all the things I have mentioned, I would say that sleep is probably the most crucial thing and the most neglected thing, even amongst people who like to think they live a very healthy life.
Exercise is active and sleeping is passive, but both are needed for brain health. We keep coming back to the point that preparing for retirement is about healthy living.
We hope this has been helpful as you look at your retirement and your brain health.
And we hope you will be able to join us for the next episode, which is about maintaining a positive attitude.
To finish, listen to Paul Woodward from Puffing Billy and see how many things you can find from what he says that could help you develop or keep a healthy brain.
Well, it's certainly keeping me active. It's certainly keeping my mind alert. We have a whole new circle of friends that we didn't have previously, who every one of them would go into bat for us. We're able to do activities that we enjoy and that we can share with other people. There's the satisfaction in seeing our heritage preserved, and there's also the joy of meeting new people and being able to share your interest in railways with them and helping them to have a great time.